This is my Aqueon 36-gallon Bowfront tank kit, obviously heavily modified for a saltwater configuration. I went with this tank just because I was looking for something that was large enough that I could get a few options, at least for saltwater configurations, but at the same time I didn't want a really big tank to maintain, with massive water changes or anything. So I'll go ahead and give you just a little bit of description of some of the stuff that I've done here, as well as my stock in the tank and what I've got going. So it's the 36-gallon tank kit. I went ahead and replaced the lighting, of course. It came with a really just crappy fluorescent bulb, and so what I did is I replaced it with an Aqueon modular LED light that just fits right on top of the aquarium. It's currently, you can see it right there. This is the light fixture right here, and it just fits right on top of this thing because it's designed for it. It's a 30-inch fixture. Anyways, it's got a white LED light, and then it also had an extra spot for another bulb. So what I did was I went ahead and ordered a Blue Max LED for it, and I run both of them together, and it seems to work really well for the reef configuration. Gives that nice white-blue mix that it currently has right now. I'm running a Koralia Hydor 3rd generation Powerhead here. It's pushing almost 2,000 gallons per hour, so it's probably got way more power than it needs, but it's good for these few little corals that I got going in here. I'm also running an EShoppes HTK 75 hang-on back protein skimmer. I've got it cranked up pretty good right now, so realistically once or twice a day I'm actually dumping and emptying that cup out there, just because I'm trying to keep the tank cleaned out. For filtration, I'm just running a Fluval 50 hang-on back filter. It's currently running the stock carbon bag and the Chemipure Elite bag in there, and that seems to be working pretty well. It came with the stock 30-gallon filter, and it's great for basic carbon filtration, but you really need to be running something like a Chemipure bag in your hang-on back filter or whatever. It helps balance things out in the tank, make sure that it helps break down the phosphates and the excess food waste and other such things, just to make sure that the tank looks pretty nice. Let's see. Now, as far as the stock in there, I have 40 pounds of live rock in there, and I did buy it as all live rock. I didn't do a dry rock and then seed. So I just went ahead and went with all live rock. It took about 3 or 4 weeks to cycle completely, and I did have some newbie mistakes. So just be aware of that. The biggest thing that will kill you with a saltwater tank is not letting the tank properly cycle. So be patient, and then you can actually get to the point where it's pretty enjoyable, and it's actually not that much more maintenance than, say, a freshwater aquarium. Now, I also have 40 pounds of live sand, mostly to help out with filtration, but also that it provides a really good sand bed for a lot of the fish that I have in here. And I'll go ahead and start out with my skunk cleaner shrimp. It's an interesting little character. On occasion it will even swim into the water column, which I didn't know that shrimp really did. And it will use its tentacles there to clean fish. Most of the time it spends actually cleaning this diamond Watchman Goby I've got right there. He's my sand sifter. He will aerate all the sand bed here, so you never have to worry about really aerating the sand. A single one of these things can honestly aerate the sand bed of a tank probably 10 to 15 times this size. So a diamond Watchman Goby is plenty. As far as the other fish go, I'll start out with my personal favorite here. This is my young female Melanurus Wrasse. She has been an excellent addition to the tank. Very docile and peaceful, hasn't really bothered anybody, which has been a huge benefit for me, because I've dealt with some aggressive fish I've had to remove, which has been a pain. And but at the same time, she's also very bold, very active, and if an aggressive fish does come up to her, she will take it for a little bit, and then she will turn around and put the fish in check. She has no issues with doing that, but she just does it just enough to let the fish know to back off, and then we'll leave them alone after that, which is kind of the perfect balance. So you get an active fish, generally peaceful, but it will stand up for itself if it something tries to bully it, especially if it's something that's comparable or smaller in size. So the other interesting thing about this wrasse is that apparently it will double as a cleaner, and I have actually seen it a couple of times, you know, just doing a couple little quick little clean things on my Goby. So they are capable of doing that. They also are ones that sleep in the sand bed. They'll flop down on their side and bury themselves in the sand at night, so that's kind of cool. And then they'll come out of the sand in the morning. So that's how they sleep. But all in all, a very cool fish. The only thing I'm worried about, of course, is that being a 36-gallon tank, this fish is actually recommended for a tank of 50 gallons or larger, because it actually gets just shy of 5 inches when it's full grown. So this fish is going to probably double in size. So for my tank, it's going to be a very big fish. So I'm hoping that won't cause problems as it gets bigger. But as I said, in the meantime, just great fish. The Diamond Watchman Goby I've already covered. One of the other cool little fun facts about him, he will manage your cleanup crew. If he sees a crab out of place, he will pick him up in his mouth and like readjust him on the live rock, or move him to another place where he figures it'd be better suited out of its way. So this is my latest edition. I'm not 100% sure if it's a Snowflake Ocellaris or a black ice Ocellaris. This guy was honestly an aggressive little butthead the first day I put him in the tank. He was mean to all the other fish. The wrasse put him in check and gave him a major attitude adjustment. Just literally beat the crap out of the fish, but then has backed off since then, and the Ocellaris has dialed back considerably on his aggression, and so he pretty much leaves everybody else alone after the wrasse put him in check. The Ocellaris clownfish, especially for if you're talking about a tank that's about 30 gallons or larger, which is generally what's recommended for them, they are a good fish for just color and activity. As you can see, it is all over the place. The other thing is, at least at this point, the Ocellaris clownfish never sleeps. If I come out at 3 o'clock in the morning when all the other fish are asleep in bed, this guy's still swimming all over the tank for all he's worth. So, so you always have a fish that is active. And most clownfish do get territorial, especially if they end up being host to or having an anemone or some form of coral host them. But the thing that a lot of people make with clownfish is they assume that they have to have an anemone. You don't have to have an anemone in order to have a clownfish. Honestly, you could probably have one in a tank with no corals either, and it would do just fine. So don't think that you need to get some thing that potentially is going to sting you or whatever in order to have a clownfish. You really don't need to have that, you know. Especially for captive bred clownfish like this one, because this is actually a man-made fish. It's a crossbreed between a couple of different species. They'll just kind of just adapt to whatever. So now to the other fish I have here. I have a couple of dartfish, one of which being the Scissortail. It's kind of an interesting little fish because it's got the larger fins there on the top and the bottom, as you can see, and it also has an iridescent blue streak under its eyes, which really stand out under the light. It's honestly, you know, as far as this and my other dartfish, the purple firefish, I'm kind of disappointed. They spend a lot of time hiding. They just happen to be out right now because I still have yet to feed the tank this morning, so they're out because they're waiting for the meal. But anyways, they are they just spend a lot of time hiding. So personally, I can't give the best recommendation for dartfish in general. Even though they're cool looking, they just, in my opinion, they spend too much time hiding. If I'd known what I know now, I probably wouldn't have gotten them, and I would have gone with something else. But as they're part of the tank now or whatever, I'll just kind of ride it out and see what happens with them. So the last one is my purple firefish down here, which, as you can see, is probably the most timid fish I have in my tank. It's very skittish. The slightest little thing or twitch from another fish can send it running and hiding. It is a beautiful fish in terms of coloration, as you can see there. It's got lots of purple and kind of a reddish color on it as well. But as you can see, it likes to hang out in the back of my tank, and this is about as bold as that firefish gets. It spends a lot of time hiding in its cave, which is not really my favorite, because basically what happens is if you have a fish that hides all the time, you have an unwanted source of nitrates for your tank. So but anyways, once again, it seems I'm kind of stuck with it for the time being, because they're virtually impossible to catch, unless, you know, basically I pull all the rock and everything out of my tank, which I don't really want to do. So anyway, but it's being at least somewhat bold right now and being out in the tank. So, but that's what I currently have for my stock, and I have a bunch of snails and crabs to help keep the tank clean. So that's pretty much it, and thanks for watching.